I'm going to get into the news roundup. This week it's going to be a little short because all we have are a few event-related updates and also kind of a vague pre-announcement. So let's go through all of those before I get to talk to Jess a little bit. So and also links to everything that I'm talking about will be shared on this time, I think, on the dedicated chat of this voice channel that we're on. So Farnoosh, please share the links here. Right, so let's get into it. So first of all, our general counsel Ahmed attended a UPA Twitter space early this week, which was basically a prelude to the first UPA Privacy Summit that's going to happen at ETH Denver this year. Personally, this once I haven't had the chance to listen to it yet. I'm going to do that over the weekend, but it shapes up to be a pretty interesting conversation. So Manta, Orchid, and some people from Electric Coin were all there, and yeah, they basically provided like highlights for the upcoming privacy summit at ETH Denver. A recording was shared in the chat. I think it's an interesting one, so listen to that one. The next news item is that Jaya and Max, so our chief strategy officer Jaya and our head of developer relation Max, both attended the European Blockchain Convention. Jaya is actually Jaya's panel discussion is starting soon in about 40 minutes. A link to the event itself was shared in the chat. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to hunt down any sort of like live stream links to these, so maybe they are being recorded, and then after the fact, once they are edited and uploaded, we can share a recording to them, because it actually looks like a pretty interesting conversation. So the panel discussion will be between Jaya and some folks from the Secret Agency DAO and the Alter Network. And it is titled "The Future of Privacy in Web3," which is of course something that we're very much interested in. So yeah, let's hope that there will be a recording. And also on that note, on the same event, so the European Blockchain Convention, our beloved Max also presented a Mixnet deep dive and gave a demo of our tech as well. So once again, if we'll get recordings of that in any way, shape, or form, then I'm going to be sharing that over the coming days on our channels as usual. The next news item is an ETH Denver side event, which will take place on the 2nd of March in Denver. It's called, I love this name, by the way, Cosmos on Tap. It's going to be a Cosmos Pop Talk. And it is basically just an event where different players of the Cosmos ecosystem get together and discuss Cosmos developer tooling and share the latest developments within the Cosmos ecosystem. So this is also shaping up to be a pretty interesting event. Akash is going to be there, Althea, Injective, Evmos, and many others. So if you're interested, a link was shared to it in the chat of this voice channel that we're on. And also we have for you a vague pre-announcement, I would say, which I think is mostly just a teaser. So on our Twitter, a lot of you may have seen that yesterday we shared that we're collaborating with ChainSafe and bringing enhanced privacy to over 500,000 validators across the globe. And that's basically all I know about this, and I think that's on purpose. So stay tuned because a lot of additional details, of course, and also a demo will be shared on ETH Denver, which is coming soon. So I'll link to the teaser tweet shared on the channel, and also like as part of the news roundup, Jess, may I ask you about the versions? There's some mix-up around the version numbers. So basically, everything other than the mixed nodes right now are on version 1.1.9, if I'm not mistaken, and then mixed nodes are on version 1.1.10. Do you know anything about that?
So I mean, there normally shouldn't be much confusions about these things. So think of each of them as, products of their own. They're living their own lives, right? There's a wallet, there's now a NymConnect, there are these network components that, for operators and stuff, mixed nodes, different clients and stuff. So these are semantic versioning, right? So 1.1.1, let me just actually change it so I can say. So if it was 1.1.0, let's say, the last digit is the patch number, the middle one is the minor version, and the first number is the major one, right? So the way these work, so all the different versions within the same minor version, they all should be compatible. Sometimes we release something, we realize there's a bug with it, we need to quickly release another version to correct that, but there's no need necessarily to, if we're doing this for mixed nodes, then we have to do the same for the wallet, right? So it is possible that sometimes they go out of sync, but that means whatever it is in the minor version, so if everything says 1.1.x, they all should be compatible and they should work with each other until we change the minor version. When we go to 1.2 on one of them, then we change everything to 1.2 and then start from there again, right? So, I mean, just don't really bother with these numbers as long as we can guarantee that whatever there is now, they're compatible with each other. And when we move one minor version up, so when we go to 1.2, then everything goes to 1.2. Same for if we go to 2 point whatever, then everything definitely has to go be updated at the same time as well. So I think that's my explanation. Does it make sense?
Okay, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I guess people were just a little confused because I think up to now they were never out of sync. So the version numbers of gateways and mixed nodes and the wallet and all of the stuff that we push out, I think we're all the same until now, right? Since we started.
I mean, I would say we were lucky that was the case, but sometimes, you know, there might be a little bug somewhere and not in the other places. So then we have to, you know, release a patch for that one, and then they go out of sync.
Awesome, understood.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Jess, actually, welcome to the community call. I think I'm done with the news roundup, and let's move on to our conversation. So, for those of you who may not know you, especially not in voice or in voice form, only from chats, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, as Sudo has been calling my name, I'm Jess. I am CPO, head of product here at Nym. I'm also a co-founder. I've been around since 2019 when it was just 5-6 of us. I was definitely more active in the community back then because it was just a few of us. We were doing everything, all of us, and I was actually quite active until Sudo showed up and then basically removed the need for us to having to be around so fiercely, because he just does everything so well and he's so on it that then we could focus on other things, and that has, I would say, has changed the quality of our work life a lot better. So thank you, Sudo, for that. Other than that, on daily basis, I basically head the whatever goes into our products, and by that I mean in the user-facing products. So those are mainly currently we have the Nym Explorer, the wallet, the NymConnect, whatever our product offering is, what we envision in the future, that would be in day-to-day basically product management stuff, and so on and so forth. So that's mainly my current role, but in addition, a bunch of things in the background from partnerships, some business development stuff, and depends what comes gets thrown at us next, but in general is product management.
Well, thanks for making me blush, first of all. Muchas gracias for that. And let's actually talk about our most prominent product to date, which is the Nym wallet. Because and let's start with this thing that comes up quite often in the chat. So people are asking us why we even have a wallet in the first place, right? So why is that? And also, besides its utility today, let's also talk about its role in the future, because as far as I know, it's going to be expanded by quite a bit.
Sure. I mean, why do we have a wallet in first place? Well, I mean, this is more or less, I mean, partly we operate in Web3. There's a blockchain and a token that powers our network. We are more or less, we do compare ourselves to Tor quite a bit, but in a way that we are a secure, decentralized Tor that is also incentivized for those who run the network and provide these services. So in order to make something incentivized, you obviously have to pay people, hence the need for the coin. I mean, there's all sorts of philosophical discussions that we can go through, that why we are not using this or that coin. Well, when we started, Ethereum was so slow, it was so expensive to use, we really couldn't go that route. That wouldn't make any sense. Bitcoin also was very expensive and volatile, and it wasn't that programmable. the best thing around was, the Cosmos network. So we chose to go there, and then WASM and allowing us to write smart contracts sounded like a very good option. So we went that route, and I think the rest is history, and this is where we are. And obviously, when when you're operating in those environments, you do then need a wallet. Now, this wallet is not just like a wallet that you keep your coins in, keep your NYMs in. Currently, well, that comes as a first usage of that in mind. But we have this huge network behind the scene that the way I see the wallet mainly, and I see it in the future, is that this wallet is going to turn into a kind of console for node operators and delegators mainly. So the way basically everything that relates to the mixnet or gateways or running your node, delegating on that will happen in this wallet. And then for end users using the mixnet, we are planning to move away from the desktop wallet and have easier, better ways for them to interact with the mixnet. But probably we will still need to have like this desktop wallet for the operator side of things. Also, another reason why we need to have a wallet and a blockchain is also like this is a decentralized and permissionless network. In order for others to know what nodes are there and what's available, there's a way for them to announce themselves into the big world, right? The list of mixed nodes that we have is an authority that we are not really controlling, right? So people need to be able to join the network and announce themselves. And how can they do that in a blockchain system? They need to send a transaction in order to register themselves into the network. So part of that we have a wallet is also that, right? And then comes like, the whole security systems that we have, the whole staking for having a better node qualities and all that, which are tied to how much stake a node has, how much others are delegating to it and betting on it because they think that's a good node and trustable and is going to provide a system. It all requires this interactions that happens in a wallet, right? So I think that's the reason why we initially had the wallet and why we're going to have it, and I think this is going to remain. Maybe we might also add like for easier access, like maybe a web version of it, we'll see, but definitely the way node operators have to kind of deal is look at it as an easy way for node operators who can then communicate with their nodes kind of and change some of the settings of their nodes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And then that transaction that you mentioned, how node operators basically broadcast themselves to the decentralized system is bonding, right?
It's bonding, correct.
Yeah, makes sense. I didn't even know that. Awesome stuff. Right. So then moving on to our other favorite product, which is I think the primary use case of the NYM Mixnet today, which is NymConnect. Everybody knows NymConnect. Everybody loves NymConnect. So I'll let the audience in on a bit of a secret because I'm already testing on my phone NymConnect Mobile. I think it's only available for Android right now, and it's not available. It's just being like alpha tested or something similar to that. It's in very early stages. But this was something that we saw. We've been seeing since NymConnect was released, like huge community interest in. So well, that is of course because not many people are using computers these days. So when is NymConnect Mobile coming out? Can you say anything about that? And also, what else is in store for NymConnect in the future?
I see you lay out quite a lot in these calls. So that's good to know. Basically, NymConnect was not meant to be what it is now. NymConnect was kind of a little interface, so we could easier use that SOX 5 client that we have, right? So it was more of a thing that Dave made to be able to just test the SOX 5 client and how it would work. And then it turned into something that it is now. It is slightly weird in the sense, and originally basically it was just one application at a time. The 4 applications that you can run in it was also one application at a time in this very the more recent versions, now you can use multiple applications in that, those that are on our allowed list, which I will explain about that as well. But then, I mean, still there's a long way for NymConnect to be something that is a, I would say, market-ready product, but we're on the way, and we'll see like how that's going to evolve. Basically, if you think of currently we do have this centralized allowed list, right? Why is it centralized? Because we don't want our gateways to act like exit nodes, like Tor is. If people want to do that, feel free. They can do that. They can run their own networks and add whatever services they want. But by default, we only allow the services that we allow, right? Later, we are planning to change this, and things are going to change. But currently, NymConnect, I personally look at it as like a little small application that then we can test what we are building behind the scene. There are lots of optimization that we are making to the mixnet, changes like packet format sizes changes, speed changes, that this application will allow us. Not only it's a little cute thing that basically adds network privacy to, I don't know, if you're using Telegram or whatever, but it will also help us to quickly stress test the network. And there are many optimizations that we are working on that we're hoping it will be released soon, which obviously this then also is a way for us to talk to the users, gauge the interest, see like an application like this, which is kind of different than what users are used to, like VPNs. It's not like application based, right? You run a VPN, the entire stack of your computer, laptop connects to, a VPN. Whatever you're doing there that has to go through the internet will go through that. But this only opens a proxy that some certain apps that you put the SOCKS5 information, the port and IP into, then that will send the data from those apps into the mixnet. So it's quite different in that sense, but it can have some advantages, right? I mean, there wasn't anything like this before. Like when you're using a VPN, the speed of your computer might go down. Everything you do might be slowed down because everything that is using the network is trying to use that connection, right? Whereas you might just only need that for a certain app that you're using, right? And not everything. So you want everything else to just work as normal, but you want privacy for some certain application. So this can be, is quite the differentiator there, and it might have a room in the big world out there, which we yet have to test and see really. But that's more or less, I mean, is what it is now. And it's definitely going to change. And as you said, while we were testing it, I think last year with Test and Earn, we realized a lot of people don't even use desktops these days. So everyone many of the people who wanted to participate in Test and Earn, they wanted to do it on mobile and they couldn't do that. So hence came the idea of, okay, let's now try to, because this is written in Rust and there's Tauri framework, it was quite easy to then change this and adopt this for Android phones, which is a very beta version of that we're working on. Hopefully soon we will have that out there in the community, get some very early eager testers to test it, see how that would work. We're testing it internally and it works actually not too bad. You just run it on your phone. It's the same thing as you see on the desktop. Spits out the port and IP information for you. You put it in your Telegram on your mobile, and it's actually quite fast and sweet. So we'll see if that was something. I mean, then we will try to make it for iOS and so on and so forth, and the rest of it. But yeah, I think this is about NymConnect. I can't remember if there was any other question you had about it, or
no, actually, just I think you covered it pretty well. The two questions were when Nym Mobile, and also what else is in store for NymConnect. On a side note, by the way, when you wanna release something on iOS, there's no side loading, right? So you can't do what we do on Android right now to just release an APK.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of dance and like bureaucratic stuff that you have to do to just get something signed itself takes like a month or two. So it's a big hassle to do that. And we thought maybe we'll go down the Android route first and see how that goes. And then if this was to be something for mobile, then we will try the iOS version.
Awesome. I'm gonna actually insert a community question here because this also comes up a lot. It's awesome to have you here, Jess, because I can just ask you these questions. So Michael is asking. Michael tells us that like hardware wallets in general are like a big deal for him. So he's just asking at what point will he be able to integrate Nym with a hardware wallet like Ledger or Trezor? Is it? And he also adding. Is it just like a soon thing or like in a long time thing? So I'm not even necessarily looking for a specific date.
I mean, in fact, if you just want to use Ledger hardware wallet with Nym, you can already do that because they have Cosmos chain there. So if you look in the hardware wallets, the Cosmos chain, you don't need to select that for different coins on this in Cosmos chain. You just select Cosmos chain and you can actually with the CLI there's a bit of work. We are actually working on it, but that part is available for savvy users already, but it will be out soon for the non-savvy users as well, just using the hard wallet. And as I'm talking to you, we are talking to Ledger as well. And we are working on actually adding Nym to Ledger Live for the send and receive functionality. So, we are working on it, and I don't think it will be long till that happens. But Ledger Live is different than hard wallet, right? And the hard wallet is already doable, and you can already tweak the Cosmos chain to basically work with your Nym wallet.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty simple. And if you ping me after the call, Michael, and remind me, then I'll look up a guide for you because I know that a guide exists on how to add Nym to Ledger. So yeah.
No, yeah, the native one I meant as well. It works. So as Sudo said, there is a guide for it, and he can send to the community. I think we should actually send that Sudo to the community. It's something useful.
Yeah, I'll share it around once again because I think it's been a while. All right, well, moving on to the next scheduled question, which is whether there are any exciting future Nym products that we can talk about, and more broadly, actually, what does the Nym product strategy look like in the near future?
Sure. So we're working on a lot of things, I should say. There's a lot in the making. So first thing first, so we do have, the mixnet is there are gateways. We need to allow more services to join the network. Instead of us manually adding this or that service, we want to allow service providers to join the network the same way as gateways are permissionless and they can join the network. We want service providers to be the same as well. Currently, it's a manual process. So we are writing the smart contract for service providers where they can, anyone can run a service provider for whatever service they want. Then they can announce themselves again by sending a small transaction into the network and then be in the blockchain. So then we can then, other applications and users can see them and use them within NymConnect or other future apps. So basically allowing them to be, joining the network in the permissionless fashion. And in order to make that easier, I'm not going to promise any time, but we are thinking about these things. We are we're gonna we're working on adding like a web wallet. So that all these interactions with the network would be much easier, and these signing things and different components joining the network and things like that can be much easier that way rather than downloading the desktop wallet and all that. So we are also we are constantly adding different service providers. This might be also something that it's quite early, but we are adding service provider for Cosmos transactions. So any Cosmos chain can broadcast their transactions into the mixnet. That's a service provider that we've been working on. It's very early stage. In fact, actually, Max was, I think, talking about that in Barcelona yesterday. He was showing how is a very beta version, how it could work. Same thing for Ethereum transactions. We're trying to connect MetaMask basically into the Mixnet. That's another thing we're working on. We do already have a little UI for IPFS. So if people want to send files over IPFS, they can use that little UI and send share files through Nym. Very early stage, is not out yet. I'm really, I think, saying too much in this chat, but I'm following what you're doing, Sudo. But I guess these are special people we have here, so they get to hear things firsthand. There are a bunch of partnerships we are working behind the scene. Those I will let them announce themselves. And yeah, in addition to that, like we have the SDK. So one part is like us building things and, you know, integrating into other applications, and another part, like, which takes a lot of effort to build these things, are the SDKs that we have. So there's the WebAssembly client and SDK, and now we're working on a Rust one. So any developer, application developer, any other applications that use Rust language, they can now easily, using this SDK, connect their applications into the Mixnet, or web apps using WebAssembly can do the same as well, which is basically this WebAssembly client is what we're using to connect MetaMask into the Mixnet, is what we're using it ourselves for this connection. So, I mean, these are all these different things that we're working on in parallel, and there are a few other things as well. Like we have the whole Coconut credential things coming out. They have their own world. There's a whole, you know, I don't know, planet of opportunities that those can bring and provide. We have some initial potential use cases in mind for them. And as I said, NymConnect, the way that's like app-based application, hopefully, well, our vision is we're gonna have something that's not just that, but something that's, I don't want to call it a VPN, because it won't be a VPN. It also won't be a dVPN. Maybe the better name for it is Sphinx VPN. Sphinx is the packet format that we use to send data to the Mixnet, the layered encryption packet format that we use. So this is Sphinx VPN. It would kind of be like the same way as in VPN, you can connect your full computer into the Mixnet. It should be like that, but it won't be, is obviously decentralized in the sense that you're not trusting one entity. In order to pay for the usage, you don't need to use your bank card to do that. You can use the credentials for payment, so you would be more private in that sense as well. And it would have, it might be slower maybe in some applications, but it would definitely be more private and more secure because of the whole Mixnet thing behind the scene. So, but then the stuff that we're working on is to allow this to have maybe tunable or different latencies per application. So you should be able to like change this latency in the application. This is like the future vision. Like we still need to work on this, but with different packet sizes, or depending on the application you're using, you should be able to select, okay, well, I'm happy to be a bit slower but more private, or, you know, there would be a gauge that, you know, okay, I want to be like more private but less fast, and depending on it depends what you're doing. I mean, for some applications like emails, people are happy to wait a little bit. You click send, you're happy to wait a few minutes for it to go away, and this all goes back to that whole privacy loves company, so to wait for other packets to arrive, and hence, like, you know, the latency. Or sometimes, and same for crypto transactions are already, like, you know, quite slow anyways, and so there will be more private. But things like chat apps, right, you don't want to, every chat you send, you don't want to wait like, you know, 2 minutes for it to be sent, so you would put it on the other settings. So things like that we're thinking about, and yeah, so there's basically a lot of improvements and features that we are working on. So I think in the next year or two, hopefully the next year, I would say, we should be able to see most of these things coming out and adopting more and more users. So that's it.
Well, first of all, you went ahead and answered my favorite question on the list. And now I can't ask it because this is at least for me the whole dVPN, very bad name, but that's the easiest way to point at it, right? Is the most exciting thing that is happening this year with Nym. I think it's a major milestone for Nym. And when it comes to the latency thing, and Simon Wiki, our researcher who's in the audience, will correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a chat about this earlier, and I think the current best latency that the MixNet can do is somewhere around 500 milliseconds. I remember something like that. And this trade-off, and Jess, you will correct me if I'm wrong, where you can, I mean, potentially we could set on a per app basis how quickly we want to send certain things and how private we want those things to be through that. There's basically a trade-off between speed and the number of packages that are mixed on the MixNet within a given period of time, which is a really bad way of explaining it. But what I'm saying is that we basically would change the amount of latency, amount of possible latency that is added to the packet at each hop, and then through that make it way more private, but also make the latency possibly way higher than it would be otherwise, right?
That is true. That's exactly it. Yeah. It's all like basically if the network is busy and there are many people using it, you don't really need to play around with any of this, right? You don't need to maybe wait longer for more people to arrive, more packets to arrive. But if at some times in the day, like there aren't that much usage in the network and you really want to be private, really want to be sure, then yeah, you're happy to wait slightly longer, right? So that's where these different latencies come in.
Yeah, thanks for doing a significantly better job at explaining this than I did. But hopefully people now actually understand. Yeah, just in way fewer words and in a way more efficient way. All right, well, one more question when it comes to this whole dVPN thing. Is there anything that needs to happen on our end, like any major blockers that need to happen, maybe in terms of research or development, before we can release it, that you can point at?
The research is happening as we talk. I mean, there are some, like the decentralized measurements, the Verilog and stuff. The things that can speed up the MixNet are basically which nodes you're connected to, right? That also is something that changes drastically, the speed, which we're also working on. So depending on your location, your region, closer nodes to you can be selected, right? There are definitely a lot of research and optimizations that are happening behind the scene. I think that can be a full session that you can invite Simon or Anya to explain on these things a bit more. I'm not so much of a scientist as they are, but that's more or less about what I know. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have Simon Wiki back for a third round at some point. Thumbs up in chat if you want that. 2 Simons in the community call.
Well, he seems to be liking it here. He's also hanging out now. So yeah, good job, Simon.
Yeah, he says works for me, so it's confirmed, guys. Simon Wiki is coming back at some point to round 3. We have a community question which I'm going to insert here before my next scheduled one. So, how do you see what international? I think that's what he means by in. So, how do you see the international regulatory landscape changes in terms of affecting Nym product development?
Well, I mean, things change and shit can happen. Who knows? I mean, but that's not what we're thinking of, and I really don't see how it can necessarily affect us in particular. There are many new rules and regulations coming out for crypto in general that, well, yeah, Nym included. But I don't think running VPNs or services like Tor or providing generic privacy for applications is something that will be targeted. I mean, otherwise, we as humanity will have more problems to deal with. That's, I think, a whole other discussion. I don't see that being any different than, like, end-to-end encryptions and the advantages that we currently have compared to maybe before crypto wars. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any specific regulations that might throw any hurdles along the way, but I might also be wrong. Who knows?
So in general, actually on the heels of the whole Tornado Cash situation back this summer, we talked a lot about the potential risk that Nym is facing, given the fact that what Tornado Cash and other mixers are doing is, in theory, on a high level, very similar to what we're doing, but the mixers are doing it with funds while we're doing it with data, basically. And I had Ahmed on the community call back then, and what he said about this is that while that is true, while a mixer like Tornado Cash is very, very similar in how it works to something like Nym, the thing is that networks are treated as neutral by law for the most part, and this is not just a nicety from governments, but it's also kind of a necessity, because if you start not treating networks as neutral, and if you try to make any sort of regulation which makes networks responsible for what's happening on them, then, or you ban encryption, then you would basically collapse all major companies within a few days, because then VPNs would be banned, and if VPNs would be banned, then there would be no there would be leaks and breaches all around the place, because all large corporations are reliant on encrypted tech. So that will likely never happen. So in that sense, Nym is safe. Of course, crypto is under attack, and in general, I would say that's an interesting story to keep an eye on. That is why we make sure that we're compliant from every possible angle. But yeah, the network itself and the privacy that it provides is kind of bulletproof, and it's to be treated as neutral, because otherwise a lot of other things would also be in trouble. Basically, a lot of other software and solutions.
I think that the problem here is the fact that we're sharing the similar name with mixers. I think Mixnet is a very bad name, to be honest, to start with. Also, given mixers are under scrutiny, but what a Mixnet does, it has nothing to do with what a coin mixer does. And this is where the confusion comes from. This is where people ask even the question. Nobody comes and says, hey, do you think VPNs are under threat? Do you think Tor is under threat? No, they're not under threat. Why do you think Mixnet would be under threat? Purely because it shares a name that has mix in it with mixers. And this is where I think the question even comes from, which maybe bears in mind we should probably move on to a different name. We should call it, I don't know. What can we call it? Maybe we can come up with a name here in this session. But
actually, that would be great. I like Mixnet though. I think it's good. It's very accurate, and it's 2 syllables and very accurately describes what it actually is, right? It's a network that mixes.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but now unfortunately, because of the Tornado Cash and mixers kind of discussion and problems that has happened, it is correct that, I mean, people would make the connection and they try to compare it with that, but that's wrong. They shouldn't. And I'm sure if it had a different name, nobody would even question that.
True, but let's rename mixers instead. Let's start a petition.
I think we should have a session on that. So
exactly.
What can we call this thing? Mixnets are actually quite an old name. I mean, I think we can move on to a new name in the 21st century. So I think it's about time to do that.
No, but mixers should move on, because we were first, I think, with Mixnets, right?
Yeah, but they're now known, right? So if we want to be different, we should now change our name.
Or just be knower. Anyways, that's a dispute for another day.
Yeah.
We'll take it to DM, Jess. So since we're talking about regulations, I think My next question is kind of timely here because I definitely wanted to ask you about something that you've been looking into, because as basically everyone who's on this call, I see all the names who are in the audience today. You guys almost all participated in Shipyard Academy or some of our testnets, and as you know, we KYC people before giving out tokens in all situations, and also that's also true for a lot of the stuff that happened over the past. So in late 2022, we did some stuff that we give rewards for, and we're KYCing people before giving out those tokens. Now, this, of course, a lot of people don't like, which is understandable because KYC is not a fun process, and also is not necessarily in line with the vision of the future that we have here. But it's also just like I said earlier, it's also part of our attempt to be bulletproof in terms of compliance. Like we can't allow to not be bulletproof, and we don't write the law, and we don't write the sanctions either, but we must comply with them so that we can create privacy preserving tech, which is what we're doing. And coincidentally, you've been looking into something very interesting. So what would KYC look like using zk-nyms, which is, by the way, guys, Jess said coconut credentials earlier. Those are the same thing. We're still very much debating internally which name we should be using. So basically, our anonymous selected disclosure credentials. What would a KYC process look like using zk-nyms?
So, I mean, this is not necessarily what we would be building. It's possible that we might build it, but even if we don't build it, we're gonna release the technology that other people can. And so, I mean, zero knowledge proofs are a complicated concept. It's quite maybe difficult for normal developers to understand, or like normal people to understand. I mean, it took myself a while to understand how it would work. I still don't really understand how the magic behind the scene works. But in order to make this understandable, and given that we ourselves went through this whole KYC process, and we kind of noticed the problems that are there in terms of like, you know, how it happens in general and the lack of privacy in it and this or that, we kind of thought of like, okay, maybe there can be a solution there. And actually now so many companies are also thinking about this, to introduce like, you know, private credentials into KYC flows, and how they can basically play around with like, you know, making it a bit better. Not everyone's thinking about the privacy aspect of things. A lot of people, when they talk about like, you know, making KYC decentralized, all they mean is just like connect the wallet address also to the KYC profile and certificate, and just make a worse nightmarish thing out of that KYC as well, so that like basically whoever's done your KYC, they can also see what you're doing on chain as well, which is not necessary for a lot of applications, right? So basically, I mean, what is these private credentials that I keep talking about? Private credentials are basically these private access tokens, right? They are bearer tokens with key value pairs inside it that the user should be able to reveal them at discretion, right? And they have a few good properties in a way that like whoever has issued them, like coconut credentials in particular, they can be issued by multiple authorities. So not one authority would know the entire detail of what they're signing. Also, once they are issued, the user can then take this and can re-randomize this. So when they want to spend it, when they want to use it, by re-randomizing, they can break the link between whoever has issued this and where they're spending this. So therefore, like no one can create a map of like where these are being used and how they're being used. And so they are quite private and good in that sense, right? Now, what can they be? I mean, they might be a bit too private for so many use cases. Like the regulations don't want so much privacy because they want to know about like what users are doing, right? So it can and cannot fit for KYC purposes. It can fit for like situations that you just want to prove proof of personhood, right? You're a individual, you're alive, you want right to access to something, you want right to use a service or product, or you have this advantage, you've done this KYC and you want to show it like somewhere that, I'm, what do you call it? Let me in, or give me this or that privilege. So they are good for those scenarios, and there are ways that they can also be then added to KYCs. Like, I don't know, in terms of maybe governance, right? More and more companies now, they have to do crypto companies, they have to do KYC for users, for airdrops, for exchanges, for whatever more or less you meaningful thing you want to do on exchanges, you need to have KYC. For I don't know, things like so KYC is like one aspect of this, but there are other like non-crypto use cases as well. So I don't know, a few years ago we used these credentials to build a prototype application for EU, European Union, for what back then was COVID certificates. So thankfully that's history now. But if everyone, I think people remember that there was a lot of like questioning about like how these certificates would work. They can be privacy nightmares. Other than like, the discriminatory aspects of them, the usage of them could be totally tracked, and it was not private at all. So what we proposed was like a private COVID application that someone would issue you a certificate. Then the user from their app, they could use that. It could be scanned, and every time they wanted to use it, they could re-randomize it. It could break like the link between like where you'd used it. But you could still prove that this is a legitimate certificate that I've been issued, and anyone who would scan it, they could see, yes, it's been signed by the authority. If they had the public key of the authority, they could check the signature, and they could move on, right? So now the same concept can be used for KYC, but really then again, it depends how much information the regulators or the people who give these services would want to know about the users, right? So, I mean, we have like maybe 10 minutes. Now I'm talking about, there's a little click-through prototype that we made to just like basically show people how this would work. Also, if people are interested, it's something that can totally be built with these credentials. So let me try sharing my screen. How do I do this? Screen 1. Go back. Let's make sure it's screen 1. It is screen 1. Go live. And do people see my screen? Sudo?
Yes, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wait, let me join your stream. Yep, I can see it.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so imagine we had a web wallet that we might one day have, right? Just like we had a few, I don't know, marketing campaigns, we had a sale, we had testnet rewards, we had so many times, we had so many occasions that we wanted to send our users some tokens. But obviously, we need to know who they are because of the regulation. We can't just send them tokens, so we have to send them to for KYC. And some of them, there was all those problems that there were. People went to KYC. So many people like they did their KYC. Then they had to then give us their wallet address. That was a whole other process. There are solutions that you give your wallet address also to KYC provider, so they have both your wallet address and your information, and then they send that to us. Not a good idea. So then, I mean, it's okay for receiving some coins and stuff, but if you're going to use that wallet for multiple things, if the future of Web3 is like that wallet address is going to be what you're going to be doing for a lot of activities, then it's not a good idea, right? So then came the idea of like, okay, so we have these credentials, how we can use it to kind of like, make this process slightly better. So imagine you had this Nym wallet, you would sign into it, then in that wallet, you would get to know, okay, there's this concept of credentials that you can, if if we had this and we want to send you to go do your KYC, you would come to the wallet, you would say, okay, well, I want to create private credentials for this in order to go ahead. You would click here. We had to send you to do KYC first in order for creation of the credentials, because you need to have the KYC first, and then from that you can create your private credentials. You continue, we send you to our super KYC provider partner, you upload your document, they verify that, they say, yes, is it a real human, is one person, is real, this and that. So, and your KYC is certified, and they obviously, like the things that they say, whether they are, you're from a certain country or not, you're above the age of like, I don't know, 18 or not, and all those jazz is going to be in here, right? Now, you want to use this certificate that the KYC provider has given you in the world, right? You've got this. There are some third-party applications, other services that do work with this KYC provider, and they allow, because they know this service, they trust this KYC provider, they're going to allow you to take some certain actions on their websites, right? So you want to now you request a private version of this credential. You connect that, you connect your wallet to that. It asks you, do you want to like import these KYC credentials in here? You say yes, save them, and here you'll have like a gobbledygook idea of your KYC in here. Now, there are a bunch of things that you can do with this KYC certificate that you have, which inside it has these key value pairs that I was talking about, which can be like, I don't know, your name, your address, or yeah, like your nationality, your age, whatever, right? Or basically what this means is like, this person has been KYC'd, yes or no, right? Or is above the age of 18, yes or no. This is what this KYCs would be. Now, there are a few things you can do with that. You would click here. You could view its attributes, which are the attributes that I just said, age, address, this or that, and you could re-randomize it, right? So imagine like you wanted to use this thing. First time you want to use it, you don't need to re-randomize it. You would go, you go to PandaDesk, Dex, and then PandaDesk knows the KYC provider that you went to. They trust them. You want to, trade some coins in there. You connect your wallet. It says what you want to connect with your Nym wallet. You sign in like you do with any other web wallet, and then it asks you, well, PandaDesk want to use your KYC. Do you want to allow it? Yes. Once you do that, then PandaDesk will tell you, okay, well, great. You are, you've passed KYC, and so you can do these actions on our Dex, limitless or whatever, as you like, right? So you're allowed, we give you this access, this right. So what this means is you did use your KYC, but next time you want to use it, you can, on a different website, you can re-randomize it. So PandaDesk cannot like see, okay, you're doing other things in other places. And also the KYC provider also cannot track your activities, right? So this will be delinked. What you're doing from your activities will be delinked, basically. And this is where the privacy comes from. Still, you have to have your KYC documents with someone, but it would be a more private way of like dealing with things. And yeah, and then at the end you'll have, whatever website you've given access to your KYCs here. You can maybe, right click, remove access, and so on and so forth. So this is mainly the gist of the idea of how the KYC and credentials maybe can be kind of combined and work together. Again, it requires services to adapt to this, KYC providers to want to provide this service. And also so many times, like it's basically users who want these services that push, companies to accept it and adopt it. So that was it. And
that is pretty damn amazing. Although I think we saw the same demo at some point on a team meeting, right? You showed us this already a few months back.
I think a while back. Yeah.
This is really amazing. So, just to point out, folks, it's not like you can avoid in a KYC process, you can avoid providing documents and all of that stuff that you normally provide during a KYC process. But then once you get a credential that is an anonymous credential, you can just certify that you passed KYC and never have to actually share anything of yourself other than that fact, which is, I think, really interesting, and it's one of the key top interesting use cases of Coconut credentials or zk-nyms. Actually, let's get into this a little bit, Jess, because there's a community question about this. So why are we renaming to zk-nyms? And also, since just for the record, folks, it's not 100% sure that we're renaming yet. I think it's still an open conversation internally. Jess, which side are you on? Are you on the side of Coconut, zk-nym, something else?
I mean, coconuts are cute and tasty. I mean, how do ZKs taste like? I don't know. It's something cryptic and not very user friendly. I agree. I don't really agree with ZK, but obviously there's a lot of hype in zero knowledge and ZK in general. So I think that might drive using that name a little bit. And zk-nyms does sound okay, zk-nyms, but I don't think it's very understandable for majority of users. Credentials are a lot more understandable. Maybe zk credentials I would use if I'm honest. And but I think Coconut still has its place in my heart. So yeah, I don't know. I'm split. zk-nyms is short though, and obviously has a brand name on it, so that could also work. But I would rather using credentials to be more specific. ZK creds, maybe ZK credentials, something like that.
It's funny that without, I think, even knowing about the survey, or I don't think you saw the survey that I put out.
No.
I actually put all these exact three options in it: Coconut credentials, zk-nyms, and zk credentials. And to be honest, for me, zk-nym makes sense because of zk. People know more and more what that means, and it's one of the biggest buzzwords basically in the space, I think, for 2023 at least. And then nym is our brand, so that also makes sense. But the community actually seems to be almost exact in an exact split in three parts. A third one zk-nym, a third one Coconut creds, a third one zk creds.
Oh wow, I didn't know. That's interesting. Okay, so then we can just draw a dice or something. I throw a dice and just pick one.
Exactly. Let me look at community questions a little bit. Yeah, so Hoistic is asking, it's a good question, whether PandaDex is active or does it exist? I also don't know what it is.
I do not think it exists, or if it does, it was just a coincidence. It was a cute panda we found online, so we put it on the slides. It had nothing to do with reality, I don't think.
It looks dope. Maybe we should make it.
Oh, maybe we should have a PandaDex, yeah.
And then wait, what else? Oh yeah, Africa73 is asking whether there will be a brief excerpt of the community call. Well, at some point we're going to be releasing stuff like that, maybe even clips. For now, what we do is uploading the whole recording of every community call to our YouTube channel. There's a dedicated playlist called Nym Community Calls. So this community call will also pop up there at some point. And then in the future, I'm planning to make this content stream just a bit more sophisticated. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for the tip. And wait, what else? I saw a question, I think, that I didn't ask, and it was earlier on. Just 1 second, folks. Oh yeah. Also, Michael asked earlier, like in the beginning of the call. So, was a special point or difference between zk-nym and zk rollups for other chains?
I think zk rollups are a way to combine a bunch of zero knowledge proofs in one pack. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think it's just a layer 2 way of doing things faster. But zk zero knowledge proofs are basically just the bare technology of this. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think that's what it is. Sorry, I'm not specialist on that. You should ask our scientists, as I said earlier.
Yeah, again,
Simon might know, no? Maybe not.
Yeah, Simon can jump in the chat, our researcher Simon Wiki, or you can join round 3 with him in the near future when I'm bringing him back as a guest for the community call. One thing, I don't know if you want to do this, Jess, but another question also from Hoistic. Can you explain again the difference between a mixer and a mixnet? I can actually take this one. So
go on, please.
Yeah, so a mixer is basically like a decentralized technology which takes funds from various wallets and then mixes them up in a way that makes it impossible to see what funds come from whom. That's the easiest and simplest explanation. So a lot of funds go in it, and then nobody knows where those funds come out. And this was used by a hacker group, a notorious North Korean hacker group called Lazarus, to launder a few $100 million. I can't remember the exact number. So basically, for that reason, the famous and old school mixer called Tornado Cash was put on the OFAC sanction list, which is the nuclear option when it comes to sanctions. So anybody dealing with this entity, which is not even an entity, it's just code, can get up to, I think, per offense up to 30 years in prison or something like that. So it's a very similar, very serious thing to be put on the OFAC as the end list. Now, as opposed to that, so mixers do that with funds, so actual crypto, Ethereum, I think, in the case of Tornado Cash. The mixnet, what we have, for example, the Nym mixnet, does basically the same thing with data. So I'm sending a message to Jess, and before that message gets to actually Jess, it goes through our mixnet, and the mixnet mixes it around in a way that makes first, it makes it look exactly like all the other packages that are traveling on the mixnet, which makes it impossible to see which one is my packet. And then it mixes it around mix nodes in a way that makes it impossible to know which message is coming from me or who it's coming from that ends up arriving at Jess, or even whether that's a real message, because there's also cover traffic on the mixnet. So basically, they are very similar, mixers and the mixnet, but only in this sense that they do something very similar, but they do it to very different things. Do you agree with my explanation, Jess?
Yeah, almost.
Okay, dokie. Another point to beef on in DMs. And I think we don't have any more community questions. Other than, I'm going to read something out to you, Jess. So Nick says, that's why we need to invite people from product management more often. They have this unique skill to translate pure tech to normal language. So that's his comment on this community call. So hopefully, when I'm going to be nagging you once again to come back for a round 2, then you're going to be keeping it in mind.
I hope that was the case. I mean, I sometimes think I actually do say things very longly and not to the point, but I'm glad to see that wasn't maybe the case this time, I hope. But yeah, but that doesn't mean, Simon, that I'm gonna come here more often. I'll be very happy to do so.
We'll see about that. I'm gonna be very persistent.
It was great to be here, and I am very thankful of everyone who attended, which seems to be quite a lot of names, actually. That's very nice to see. And yeah, well, right on, guys. It's lovely to have such active community. We really enjoy to see that.
I'll second that. So yeah, huge thanks for coming on, Jess. Finally, it was amazing to do this, and I hope to see you back at some point, folks. As usual, the call was recorded. You may notice Craig, our very diligent recording bot, in the audience, and it will be uploaded at some point to our YouTube channel. I will also include the demonstration that Jess did, because Gustavo created a screen recording of it, so you will see everything in the YouTube video as well. Fortunately, our man Pizza J saved the day, and even though I didn't warn him that we're going to be doing this on this voice channel and not the usual stage, he was sharp and noticed it himself. So we do have a POAP for this call. So please, if you want to claim your POAP for attending this call, just go to the usual channel, the Claim Attendance NFT channel, And there you can use the very simple instructions found there to claim your POAP. Huge thanks for joining, everybody. I wish everybody a lovely weekend, and catch you all next week. Bye.
Can I apply for a POAP?
Yes, of course. You just go to the Claim Attendance NFT channel, which is 3 above the voice channel that we're currently on.
Right away.
Yep.
Cool.
Can you see it? And then just do.
Not really. There are many channels, but I'll try.
It's in the voice channels category. So we're on the Shipyard Academy lectures channel right now. And if you go up 4, then you say the Claim Attendance NFT channel, and then you just go.
Yes, it's there.
Yeah. And then you just follow the instructions in the GIF.
Wow, could we have more channels? I wonder. This is quite.
Yeah, I think we should duplicate all of them. Maybe we could. It's an embarrassingly low number of channels that we have on this server. I'll do something about that.
Cool. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the Friday and lovely weekend, you all, and hope to talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Much love.
Cheers. Bye.